Meow, darlings. Beirut is burning and the numbers are staggering. Over 180,000 souls displaced in a blink as Israel's offensive against Hezbollah turns Lebanon's capital into a war zone. It's October 10th, 2024, and the situation is dire. Let's rewind to September 23rd last year, when Israel launched a series of targeted airstrikes on Hezbollah positions. That's when the panic set in, and people started fleeing their homes. Fast forward to today, and we're looking at a humanitarian crisis that's spiralling out of control. The Lebanese Ministry of Public Health is reporting over 2,000 deaths and nearly 10,000 injuries since October 8th. That's a lot of lives shattered in just a few days. And it's not just civilians caught in the crossfire. 77 healthcare workers have been killed while trying to save lives. It's a tragedy of epic proportions. Now, let's talk about the scale of this disaster. We're seeing displacement numbers that surpass even the 2006 war. Prime Minister Najib Mikati estimates that up to 1.2 million people have been forced from their homes since the fighting intensified. That's almost a quarter of Lebanon's entire population. The infrastructure damage is catastrophic. 96 primary healthcare centres and 3 hospitals have shut their doors. Schools have been turned into makeshift shelters, leaving 350,000 children without education. It's a generation at risk of being left behind. But here's the kicker. Lebanon was already on its knees before this conflict erupted. The country has been hosting 1.5 million Syrian refugees and grappling with an economic crisis that's pushed over half its population below the poverty line. Now, with this new wave of violence, the situation has gone from bad to apocalyptic. Humanitarian organisations are stretched to their limits. 80% of the shelters are bursting at the seams. People are sleeping in public squares, on beaches and in cars. It's a desperate situation that's getting worse by the day. The patterns of violence are creating a climate of fear and despair. Repeated airstrikes and forced evacuation orders over more than 100 villages have sent people fleeing en masse. It's not just about the immediate danger, it's about the long-term impact on Lebanon's social fabric. Organisations like the UN are calling for urgent humanitarian access and adherence to international law. But words seem hollow when bombs are falling and children are dying. The international community needs to step up and fast. If you're as shocked as I am by these developments, make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay informed on this evolving crisis. We need to keep our eyes on Lebanon and demand action. Looking ahead, the prognosis is grim. Displacement figures are expected to rise, potentially overwhelming already limited services. There's a real risk of deepening sectarian divides and a humanitarian catastrophe that could destabilise the entire region. But let's not forget the human stories behind these numbers. Families torn apart, dreams shattered, and a generation of children traumatised by war. It's not just about geopolitics. It's about real people suffering unimaginable hardships. The economic impact is equally devastating. Lebanon's economy, already in tatters, is now in freefall. Inflation is skyrocketing, with rates exceeding 200%. The Lebanese pound has lost 95% of its value since 2018. For context, the minimum wage is now effectively around just $1 per day. It's economic Armageddon. Food insecurity is rampant, with nearly 2 million people unable to meet their basic dietary needs. Businesses are shuttering, unemployment is soaring, and the spectre of widespread hunger looms large. It's a perfect storm of economic and humanitarian crises. The conflict has also laid bare the vulnerabilities in Lebanon's healthcare system. With critical facilities under fire and healthcare workers paying with their lives, the ability to provide even basic medical care is severely compromised. There are reports of 11,600 pregnant women among the displaced, highlighting the urgent need for specialised care in impossible circumstances. Technologically, the conflict has seen an increase in the use of drones and satellite imagery for military operations. While these tools can potentially aid in humanitarian efforts, they're also being used to devastating effect in targeting civilian areas. The legal implications of this conflict are equally troubling. International humanitarian law, including the Geneva Conventions, mandates the protection of civilians during armed conflicts. Yet, we're seeing blatant violations with the bombing of medical facilities and the targeting of healthcare workers. It's a stark reminder that in war, the law is often the first casualty. As we wrap up this report, it's clear that Lebanon is standing on the precipice of a catastrophe that could reshape the entire region. The need for immediate, coordinated international action has never been more urgent. Without it, we risk witnessing the collapse of a nation and the birth of a humanitarian disaster that could haunt us for generations. This is Ron de Parmesan, reminding you that in times of crisis, information is power. Stay informed, stay compassionate, and remember, the world is watching. Keep your paws on the pulse of this developing story, and I'll see you in the next report. Meow and out.